Well, here it is, another 2 episodes of The Bad Batch, 2 in 1 this week. Whew. For infiltration and extraction. And boy, are these episodes quite entertaining, packed full of tension, and very, very good. But to start things off, it surprised me that we're getting 2 sub-characters that are developing. Last time we saw Senator Tucci, she was basically trying to figure out ways of helping the clones, while at the same time looking at ways of figuring out what the Empire was doing and realizing how Palpertine has been using the Imperial system. Now she's made an appearance once again, this time building what could be, or the groundwork, oddly enough, for the Rebel Alliance. Meeting, oddly enough, with her opposite number in the Separatist controlled systems, more specifically Raxus, which was the capital of the Confederacy Independent Systems during the Clone Wars. This is particularly interesting because the fact it brings about the idea, the fact that maybe eventually someone like Mon Mothma may look at ways of maybe using the Separatists as a means of gauging how could they build a rebellion. It might be the fact that Senator Tucci, it might also reflect the fact that she's also concerned about the pro-human centrist sentiment going on in the Empire, though will not rear its head till probably sometime later. But this is also building up to quite an interesting battle, because the senator from Raxus is being escorted by Rex and his clones. And you also know for a fact that other planets such as his have been occupied by the Empire, and gradually we don't really know how bad things are getting, but we have to assume that it's getting pretty bad. Also, what was also good about this episode in particular is the fact, once again, what we first caught a glimpse of in Season 2, with the clone assassins, has now become fully fleshed out. Rex is going to be able to stun this one and capture him alive, and then tries to figure out how to gain information on him. Maybe more specifically, removing the suicide device the clone had stashed in his teeth. This is particularly good in the fact we actually can talk to him, but also for a fact that it's Tantus, and more specifically Dr. Hemlock, who's behind this conditioning program. And it begs the question, is this going to be how things like the Death Troopers are conditioned? Because even though the Death Troopers are much taller than the average Stormtrooper, and said to be augmented with surgery, we also might be gaining an understanding of how such elite forces may have been bred to be loyal. Another a fact that now, and of course, Rex tries to interrogate him, but they don't get much out of it. What they do have, though, is they do have a piece of information in regards to who his targets were, including the senator that Rex was supposed to serve as a bodyguard to, but also Rex also finds out that, oddly enough, on this same assassin's hit list is Omega. Hemlock wants her captured alive, and so he dispatches a second one in order to collect, or rather more specifically his lead clone, basically the commander of the garrison on Tantus, has been instructed with serving as his bodyguard. But more specifically, he's been sent in to actually capture Omega after the first, while also killing the first operative in case he breaks. And we also get a look at the ship the operatives use, or at least this one does, and it's a very, very imposing triangular design. It definitely gives an idea of exactly what the shape that the Sith seem to go for in their ships, which is something very long and triangular. And this ship is no different. And it's quite possible we also loaded it with various different stealth technologies as well. You may see the fact that, and also the fact we also learn in this episode the fact that the assassins have an internal homing device. But also, Rex also has to call in the Bad Batch because Hunter and Echo have to know about that Omega is on the hit list. And Hemlock's not going to stop until he captures her. And the way the episode ends is in a climactic sequence where we actually realize how powerful and how deadly one of these assassins is. This assassin is not able to assassinate the target, killing the clone operative that Rex has captured, but also does quite a fair bit of damage to the base with concealed explosives. Makes me think that these soldiers are incredibly well trained in the use of things like explosives, or is this the fact they were probably chosen from the ranks above the clone commandos and maybe even initially ARC troopers, but are just in general elite clones given specialist training. The other interesting aspect of the whole thing is the fact that Commander Wolf is being called in with a bunch of early Stormtroopers / TK troopers to attack the facility. And pretty much that's where episode 7 starts off, with, oddly enough, Rex coming up with a couple of facing Commander Wolf, and Commander Wolf has a couple of commandos and some TK troopers in his force. What makes this battle particularly interesting is the fact that it becomes a run and gun battle, and They lose their base. The base, I think it's pretty much was the original old outpost from the first Clone Wars film, I think. But I'm not entirely sure of that. But what also adds impetus to this struggle, I suppose, is the fact that what we're getting now is a lot more ideas of how the Animal Empire works. Like, for example, that the clones are all brothers, and also for a fact the assassin is effectively completely off his head and completely out of control whenever they go into battle, with them pretty much killing anyone who stands in their way. This also builds up a rather nicely in the fact of Crosshair apparently was supposed to be turned into one of these assassins. And it makes sense, he is a highly skilled sniper. And these assassins do favour, oddly enough, sniper rifles as their preferred weapon. While Wolf plans to bring them all in alive using stun weapons. But his plan fails, and after losing a couple of TK troopers and some others, and after Rex and company crash, thanks to the assassin demonstrating how good of a shooter he is, and also for the fact that they have a couple of modified attack shuttles being used as dropships, namely with a large box crate strapped to the belly, but at the same time, Crosshair has developed showing off his sniper skills by shooting both the pilot and then shooting it down with a shot to the engine, losing him with both one of his ships and everything else. And perhaps another couple of TK troopers along with behind him and scream. But what really sets this episode apart, in my opinion, is just how well done it's been. The Bad Batch is building to something, and they managed to get to the extraction point, with the assassin going rogue, apparently. Which begs the question, what exactly? How exactly are these assassins conditioned? And do they just complete their mission? Or after that, do they self-terminate? Or do they complete their mission and they don't stop until their mission is done, no matter what the cost may be? This does feel like a very Imperial strategy. But what I really liked most of all about the whole episode, oddly enough, was the fact they all got away scot-free. But also, as you mentioned in episode 6 as well, is that because Echo's lost her bow, Echo scrounged up from a thing that looks like a modified Clone Wars blaster and energy crossbow, bits and pieces, including maybe a couple of bits of a bow. Which, naturally, of course, Omega does quite like quite a fair bit. And also, at the same time, Echo arrives, they make their escape, Rex manages to talk Wolf down, and Wolf lets them go, but doesn't mean for a fact he's going to get done. And he might go over to get shifted off to Tantus for this blunder. But even the TK troopers go along with it, which makes me think for a fact that initially, the TK troopers hold a lot of respect for the clones. But gradually, as time goes on, the Imperial recruitment system becomes a bit more aggressive in their following on of a number of tactics and training. More specifically, most likely trying to turn them into basically little assholes who will climb the ranks and do whatever it takes to weed out anybody. But that's probably later down speculation. But I really like these two episodes, and The Bad Batch, I'm saying it now, I recommended it before, and they said it was the top 2. This is definitely been a very long time coming, and it's building up, oddly enough, to the epic conclusion that we were promised. I hope for a fact they storm Tantus and something happens. Like, even for a fact this is the first blow against the Empire. But that's just me. Well, I've been the Universal Challenger. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheerio!